Yo, I was looking at some areas, the way that the prices soar up, the way that the prices soar up, because I'm guessing that even know much inventory when it comes to homes they're selling right now. Nobody's even trying to sell their homes. So everybody's like, yo, when the interest rate is good, that is high, that's great, because people have to sell their home for less, so you could buy a home for less. And it's like, bitch, it doesn't matter if the interest rate is motherfucking high as and actually, bitch, there's not even inventory. That's one, but that's another Now let's talk about the fact that the rent. I was talking about buying house. Now I'm going back to rent. Like, how are people surviving? I want to know.
They're not surviving. They end up on the streets because they can't afford housing. And it's nice to see a celebrity with resources drawing attention to real issues that ordinary people are dealing with across the country. And we all know that housing has become incredibly unaffordable. We have a shortage of housing. We also have a problem with corporations and private equity firms buying up what's available in the limited inventory of housing, which prices families out of being able to purchase a home. And then that increases the demand for rental property, which means with the limited supply, prices are going to go up astronomically. And if you look at some parts of the country, rent has gone up as much as $2,000 a month. It is insane. And I mean, $2,000 on top of what the rent already was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take a look at that graph, and it gives you a sense of how much the cost of housing, how much the cost of rent specifically has gone up in just a few years. Okay, that graph dates back to 2020. It's insane.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, Cardi B is awesome. Second of all, this is why I don't like the shirts that say "Eat the Rich." Doesn't it depend? And so here's how you can usually tell, to be honest. And like, if folks grew up rich, it's not impossible for them to be nice guys. I met one or two, right, and that care about other people, but it's less likely. Unfortunately, they grew up in a culture that thinks that their crap doesn't stink, and they have no empathy for others. But people who grew up poor or middle class and then became rich, like Cardi B, no, they remember how it was to be poor. They remember how it was to struggle, right? And so here she is saying, well, how are they supposed to afford these goddamn houses, right? So isn't it interesting that it's Cardi B saying this as opposed to a Democratic leader or someone in mainstream media? You know why? Because most of the Democratic leadership and almost all of the anchors on television grew up incredibly wealthy. So they've never known a time where it was hard to get a house. I mean, and plus, like, for the politicians, they're all 180 years old. So they're like, what do you mean? We bought capes for $5 back in the day, right? So they have no connection to actual human beings. And so they can't show any of the empathy that Cardi B just showed.
Yeah, none. We actually have another portion of the video. Let's take a quick look at that.
And people be like, well, you was the one that told people to vote for Joe Biden. But this is the thing, right? After the pandemic, I knew that this was going to happen. I knew we was going to have a financial crisis. And the thing about it is that this is not only in America. It's all over the world. This is insane. Like, the way that the rent has been rising, I just really be wondering, like, yo, how is people keeping up? Because all these promises are being made, but living is unbearable. Like, let me tell you something. If you planning to move out your parents' house, you better go clean the dishes right now. Your mom is making you, if it's annoying to live with your mom, you better go clean them dishes, because the rent right now, I don't know, you're going to have to sell your soul or your. I feel like we haven't been normal ever since the pandemic. I wonder when this economy crisis is going to get better. Like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. And we would need the left to win in order to actually do something about it. And that would require the left to think strategically about, what actually appeals to voters, what voters are concerned about. Branding exercises on Twitter don't usually translate to winning elections. And I say that as people are just so obsessed with purity, 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 instead of listening to what voters are concerned about and aggressively going after those issues without getting distracted by endless purity tests on Twitter.
Yeah, one thing she said there is it's obvious that she's on social media too, because she said, don't tell me you voted for Biden. Now, that's the talking point that's all over social media. But wait a minute, Cardi B had the right votes in each instance. In the primary, she was a huge Bernie Sanders supporter. Bernie Sanders is the only candidate that actually promised to do anything about housing prices. Biden didn't even make that promise. But in the general, so she voted for Bernie Sanders then. She was right. She was 100% right. And this proves that she was 100% right. Then in the general election, Donald Trump, who gave $2 trillion tax cut to the rich, said, I'm going to give even more to the rich. How about minimum wage? He said, I don't think there should be a minimum wage. So drive wages down even lower. Well, what the hell are you going to do? So vote for that monster? So you vote for Mr. Neutral, Joe Biden, as opposed to the guy who wanted to end democracy. So both were absolutely correct votes by Cardi B, but they get on her ass anyway. Why? Because they want to distract people, so they'll vote for the Republican, right? And so don't give in to any of that horse crap. You voted for Bernie, and then you voted for Biden, or Bernie and then Hillary. Your votes were 100% correct. Okay, it's not that complicated. Vote against the fascists in the general election. Vote for the progressive in the primary. And Cardi B is not an empty-headed celebrity. She did her research, and she backed Bernie Sanders after having done that research, and she was completely right. Now, all of the so-called experts and news anchors on television, are they all going nuts over housing prices? No, none of them are. None of them. Why? Almost every one of them has a multi-million-dollar home. They don't care about housing prices at all. They got theirs. They don't even know what she's talking about. But it's really important for Cardi B to say this, because if a progressive candidate says it, they will say, oh, yeah, they're not a real Democrat. Real Democrats support Joe Biden and shut up about the real problems in America, okay? But if a celebrity says it, they're like, whoa, celebrity. Well, we should cover it, okay? So thank you, Cardi B. We appreciate it.